President Cyril Ramaphosa has this morning taken to the golf course as part of the annual post-SONA Golf Day. The event is part of efforts to encourage business and government relations. However, the president had to cut things short due to an injury. For more, we're joined by eNCA senior reporter Siphamandla Goge, who is out there for us. Sipa, of course, the president having to leave because of an injury, but does it look to you that some of the business people he was going to meet there today will sign anything on the dotted line?
Well, that networking session continues and the show goes on with or without the president. The golf games are underway here. The president spent about 30 minutes. He came here and he only made sure that the tee-off was done. He did not take any more participation in the golf games. But all those business people who had come here to engage with the president and to network and also discuss important things following the State of the Nation address, they are still here. They are still playing. My colleague will show you that the tournament, or should I say the games, are well underway. This is an annual post-SONA golf games. The aim really is to ensure that people get an opportunity to discuss and dissect what was discussed or what was announced by the president during the State of the Nation address. Usually, most of the people who come here will be business people and potential investors. So to unpack and talk about business opportunities and investment opportunities that are there in the country that they can capitalize on, bearing in mind what the president said yesterday about the role of the private sector in creating job opportunities. He said it's not up to government really to create jobs, it's the role of the private sector. But the private sector and business in particular will argue that they need a conducive environment and a stable environment for them to be able to create jobs, and that can only be provided by government to make sure that there is stability, the environment is conducive, and therefore they can invest and create jobs. So the tournament or the games are continuing. Let me clarify that the president did not get injured here at the golf course today. He came here with a swollen finger. One of his fingers was swollen, and we asked him whether it's stress related or not. He said no, it's not stress related. But when he arrived here, he had that injury on his finger. He did say when he was talking to the leader of the UDM, General Bantu Olomisa, who's also here playing golf, that he is not okay because one of his fingers is injured, so therefore he had to leave earlier.
And Sipa, also what's important is, the argument that although, government is asking for a conducive, or rather the private sector is asking for a conducive environment and political stability for investments to take place, and in turn they can create jobs. It's also about the fact that we've seen in the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, for instance, and many other corruption investigations in our country, that it's a two-way relationship in corruption. There's government officials who are accused of it, but also the private sector that is an enabler by actually, giving those bribes.
There can never be corruption without two parties involved, and the private sector is not innocent. We have seen, like you have alluded, in the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, the report pointing out the rot and the illegal participation by the private sector in aiding the state capture. Remember, government officials who are implicated in the state capture project were working and colluding with the private sector at some point, businesses. So it's a two-way street in that regard. And for you to eradicate corruption, you need to deal with corruption in the private sector and in government or the state. So these discussions that are going on about the implementation of the State Capture Commission report also have to do with how the private sector will clean itself. Because in most cases, you would find that corruption that takes place, people who are behind it, it's the private sector in collusion with those who work in the state or work in government. Now you need both parties to play their part and play their role in eradicating corruption, because you will never decisively deal with corruption if you don't clean up and don't root out corruption in the private sector itself. So there are other important matters and issues that we tried to ask to the president. That question about the State Capture Commission report is one of the questions that we wanted to put to him, together with a number of questions, but But of course, he said today is about playing golf. He didn't have time to answer questions. He made a commitment that next week, Tuesday, he will be engaging various media houses whereby he will be taking questions. So those are questions that we will be putting to him on Tuesday. But we also tried to ask him to unpack and explain more what action he's going to take following his, how can I put it, admission that they take responsibility for the July unrest. Remember that the report about the July unrest is out, and it paints a very bad picture about the executive and state security agencies and how they failed in dealing with that. We also tried to ask him about the issue of the National Police Commissioner, General Kehlas Chole, to say what is happening, who's going to take the blame and the fall. Yes, you do concede that you dropped the ball, but what action are you going to take? Who is going to go? Because no one has really taken the fall following that embarrassing episode in the country's history. Well, he said, hang on, I'll answer your questions on Tuesday. We also tried to ask him whether he has responded to Scopa. Remember that he has run out of time. He needed to respond by yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, following that letter that was written by his party's member of parliament, Marvin Dex, saying he needs to account for the claims and allegations he made that he knows how the money, belonging to state security was used in the internal campaigns of the ANC ahead of the Nasrec 2017 elective Congress. This is how he responded to that question.
Well, I signed the letter. I don't know where it is now. So I signed it, and it must be somewhere in the pipeline. These things take a long time to happen because there's a pipeline and there's a chain of things that need to happen.
So you've responded, sir?
I've signed a letter, yes.
Mr. President, yesterday you conceded that the security cluster in the government was caught napping again for the July unrest. Who is going to go, Mr. President?
I am going to spend time with you on Tuesday in a proper sit-down interview. So today, let's just concentrate on the wonderful day it is. Golfers are here, and they don't want to hear politics.
But these are serious state matters.
On Tuesday, I'll have enough time to sit down with all of you and we discuss these matters. And you can ask me any question.
All right, well, that was senior reporter Siphamandla Goge, and he was with the president earlier on today.